everybody has their own race. Everybody's running their own race, and to not compare your accomplishments to someone else's, right? So it's like doing that in and of itself, like comparison is the thief of joy. So making sure that you're not like, I'm saying I'm trying to give advice, but for me, I'm making sure that I'm not like looking at someone else and then measuring myself to them, and just focusing on my journey and knowing that I'm where I'm supposed to be, trusting that I'm where I'm supposed to be in this moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with Renee, learning not to tie, achievements or accomplishments to your self-worth. I know for me, I mentioned how personally I've been going through a transformative time. So it's affected, how hard I've gone, in my roles or in the professional space. And I'm used to, being able to do really good things and do, really impactful things. But I've had to take a step back, currently, or more recently, my family has been more important, so I haven't been able to be as big of a person in those spaces.
This is the Lirae Journey podcast on the McKissick Health Podcast Network. I'm Dr. Sherella Cupid, your host.
The Lirae Journey podcast is a space for Black women to choose themselves. For season 3, the theme is Love and. We'll continue the Sister Circle conversations with Black women from different stages of life within various roles regarding personal, community, and professional. The intention of the season is to continue and start conversations on the meanings, experiences, and practices around love in numerous areas. This is our grounding season. Because Lirae means love is real and eternal. So sis, let's practice love.
So again, we're back for another episode. I'm really excited for this episode. It's been maybe a good 6 months since we've been in community. So I'm really excited to touch bases with our guests today. We have Coco and Renee. So please just give us a brief overview of yourself.
Renee, you can go first.
Thank you. Just a little bit about me. My name is Renee Lucas. I am currently working at LSU right now. I'm an overall just creative in general. I love being in the creative space. I love doing graphic design and communications and stratcom just in general. I am a mother of, my daughter is 3 years old. I do want to throw that in because I'm sure she'll come up. So she's my love, my life. And yes, I'm just very excited to be here. Thank you, Sherella, for the opportunity to be in this space. I love community, sisterhood in all forms and as facets. So I'm very happy to be here today.
Thank you, Renee. Coco?
Renee. I am also an all-around creative strategist. Of course, my focus is public relations and strategic communication. However, one of the biggest roles that I have, I am a daughter. I am a big sister, the oldest. So that's very important to our conversation of sisterhood and love here. And yeah.
Thank y'all for the introduction. I'm definitely interested in delving more into regards to the intersections of those roles y'all uplifted. So what brings you to this Sister Circle space?
So for me, this particular Sister Circle space, I don't know if the guests know, but Dr. Cupid, Sherella, is a sister to me. And with her bringing this space, it's actually a beautiful space for sisterhood and really just, unwinding and grounding as we did before. So just like you have been that kind of safe space and grounding for me, I would definitely want to give that same support to you. And then overall, I'm really just for places that uplift community and sisters because we need it.
Yes, and in line with that, as I mentioned, yes, like being in these spaces, being in these rooms, community has just in general been so important and vital in my life, like getting to where I am now. So I absolutely am all for the spaces in general. But I also, of course, my connection to Dr. Cupid and Sherella, having worked previously before in a SWAP Sisters retreat for women of color, and then also my connection with Kourtney, of course, in our lifelong friendship here has ultimately brought me into this space today.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all sharing. So, in thinking about community and thinking about life, if you could name this season of your life, what title would you give it?
So I actually just decided this. I guess we're not in the beginning of the year anymore, but I mean, close enough for 2024. My theme, like overall, I was looking for intentionality. So that being trying to figure out how to express like my purpose in all aspects of my life. So being intentional in terms of being caring, being loving. I've also been just trying to get closer to God in this season. So figuring out how to do that and how to enact that in personal, professional, just in general. So I think this season, like I'm going for intentionality. Everything that I speak, every action that I do, the interactions, the deeds that I perform, I'm trying to exude that, like being intentional about it.
Yeah, I can agree with Renee in this same role because so much has been going on professionally and personally. I would say before I was looking at this season as a season of transformation. It's just a whole lot of change going on, a whole lot of growing pains. So there's growth there, definitely. But definitely just more intentional. Like I mentioned, a lot of personal and professional things have been going on. And so in this moment, I just look at life differently. And so that goes back to that intentionality that Renee is speaking to. It's just easy to see now that life overall is precious and things that we spend our time on is precious, and that can either take away the time that you have or it can add to the time that you have. So I definitely say transformative and intentional now for me.
Thank y'all for sharing. So, in thinking about y'all being intentional in this season of your life, how are you defining love?
So I'm defining love in terms of intentional acts of kindness, of showing compassion, and just understanding. I think in general, having more grace with individuals really speaks to like reflecting that love that God has for us, for myself, and for others, trying to exude that. So that's like my how I would define love in this season.
I completely agree. I was saying earlier that I kind of believe my form of love is like the cliche, like the regular, the love is patient, love is kind, love does not boast. So all of the things, and especially extending grace, I think everything that all of us, as a community have been through, there's no longer this, 100% expectation to be perfect, although, there is, but I think we're leaning toward as a community toward more grace overall for people. And I really think that is what drives home love for most people, especially our community.
I appreciate this. I'm thinking about just the times that we're living in. For this year, my theme is to be intentional about curating space. So that could be curating like this space, my living space, my mental space, right? So in thinking about us being intentional about the spaces that we're a part of, the energy that we're entering into spaces. You also mentioned, both of y'all, the importance of grace, right? So, in thinking about grace, are y'all mindful to also practice grace towards yourselves?
So um, I'm definitely top on the list of you need to work on giving yourself more grace. Like I think I'm first on the list. For those who know me personally, I am my biggest critic. So and that's personal, professional. That's in all facets. So I am absolutely working on it. It's a a work in progress. I would say I'm trying to be more mindful that I'm not superwoman, that I can't do all the things all the time, that I can't balance everything. I'm trying to give myself grace in that knowing that that's okay. Like, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to step back sometimes. It's okay if your brain isn't putting out new ideas. Sometimes, like, I'll get a creative block and feel like, okay, I'm reflecting that into my work now. Like, okay, like making sure that I'm not letting that happen. That is something that, yes, I can admittedly say that I have not gotten there yet, but it is absolutely something that I am working on, starting with ourselves. I think that is so important in your mental health, is to learn how to show yourself grace.
Mhm. Definitely. I think for me, I mentioned being in a season of kind of transformation. So I think being in a season of transformation, that is when, or a period of time, you have to show yourself the most grace, because a lot of things are changing. You're not doing a lot of things that you were doing, before, or what you were used to. This is a new season, new things are happening, and you have to learn how to adapt. And for me, if I don't know something, or if I'm learning something, I can be very hard on myself, because I've always been, really good at a lot of things. So whenever that's kind of tested, I'm like, okay, where am I? And I kind of turn into being really hard on myself and don't extend that grace to me. However, like Renee said, I am working on it, because it definitely affects, your mental health. And I can even give an example with the newest job that I have, or the newest role that I have. It's literally only my second week. It's literally only my second week, and I'm getting used to their processes and the way that they do things. And I was at, or in my previous role for 4 or 5 years. And so I have to, this whole week I had to tell myself, you have to give yourself grace, because this is a whole new role. This is a whole new team. These are all new people. But I like to be perfect, but I'm also trying to, like, not have my ego be in that. I think that's a big thing when it comes, to grace too, because you want to be in a space of, like, I know what I'm doing, I'm good, I can do this. But sometimes you have to knock that type of, ego out and extend that grace and say, okay, you have a chance to change and a chance to grow. So not look at it as, something, that's bad, or beat myself down and don't extend grace to myself, but extend grace to yourself and understand that this is a space of growth.
Yes, and congratulations, Coco, the new job.
Yes, definitely congratulations, Coco. Just the backstories that you have. Okay, I'm really happy that you're a new space. So both of y'all touch upon the importance of self-reflection and thinking about the ways in which y'all are growing to practice more self-grace towards yourself. So in thinking about unlearning, right? Are there any things y'all are unlearning when we consider love and creativity?
Yes. So unlearning the fact that, like, like I mentioned, tying your success to your worth. So these, like, hallmarks of big, like, acclamations, like things that um like your, like, awards or promotions, or like things that are these markers that people will tie to success, but then I'll unintentionally tie it to my worth. So I'm absolutely unlearning that for sure. I'm learning instead that it's okay to be where you are, that everybody runs their own race. It's things that we hear all the time, but like, you have to actually hear it. You have to actually feel it, and take it in for it to really help you. So that's something for sure that I'm now actually learning intentionally, is that everybody has their own race. Everybody's running their own race, and to not compare your accomplishments to someone else's, right? So it's like doing that in and of itself, like, comparison is the thief of joy. So making sure that you're not, like, I'm saying I'm trying to give advice, but for me, I'm making sure that I'm not, like, looking at someone else and then measuring myself to them, and just focusing on my journey, and knowing that I'm where I'm supposed to be, trusting that I'm where I'm supposed to be in this moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with Renee. Learning not to tie, achievements or accomplishments to your self-worth. I know for me, I mentioned how personally I've been going through a transformative time. So it's affected, how hard I've gone, in my roles or in the professional space. And I'm used to, being able to do really good things and do, really impactful things. But I've had to take a step back, currently, or, more recently, my family has been more important. So I haven't been able to be as big of a person, in those spaces. So when I'm not, because I do great things a lot, I'm kind of used to that, like in my mindset. Like, I don't think, obviously, I just deserve, well, I do think I deserve everything in the world. Yes, I do. However, however, I do understand, that I still have to work hard for things. I still have to, but in that space of, I'm not moving forward or not achieving something because I had to take a step back. I had to, unlearn the fact that that doesn't mean that I'm not worth anything. It doesn't mean that. It just means that in this particular moment in my life, I'm supposed to be thriving in another area and not necessarily this area. I'm needed in another area, and that's okay. You don't always have to be, achieving something in order to be considered, of worth. And so that's just something that I'm learning, which is a really big reason why, earlier I threw my family in there, because I'm so much more than just my roles, or the things that I do for other people, outside of my family and whatnot. So definitely unlearning, unlearning that, attaching your self-worth to, the roles and things that you do, and understanding that you as a person are full of worth. Like, that's just what it is.
And it's easier said than done. It's easier said than done.
Definitely. Definitely.
So yes, I totally agree. I think that during my doctoral training, I unlearned the need for competition, because we know in higher education and a lot of economic spheres, right? Whatever context that in, you can be in a corporate context, educational context. We often learn that competition equals how well you compete equals your worth. So you have to produce these many publications, right? Or you have to win these many awards, etc., in order for you to be this accomplished X, Y, and Z, right? But I can definitely credit my doctoral training at University of Maryland, Baltimore County, in unlearning that, particularly my doctoral program, language, literacy, and culture, and that I believe we get more done if we have the mindset of collaboration. Definitely. Right? So coming in, you're taught oh, you have to compete against this person. Your GPA has to be higher. You have to have these many presentations in order for you to quote unquote be successful, or quote unquote have this worth that y'all alluded to, right? And also in learning of the importance of collaboration and community, internally, I told myself, I'm not in competition with myself. I'm in collaboration with myself, right? So what I need for this season, I'll have for this season, and so forth in the next forth. And that definitely shift the ways in which I navigated spaces, because I don't feel the need to compete against other people in the room. Yeah. Because like y'all said, their race is not my race, right? And I can't journey that path for them. So why would I even try to compete? For what?
Right.
So that's definitely my mindset, of being in collaboration with myself, because then it helps me to circle back to realizing that a lot of the notions of quote unquote success is tied to metrics that are quantitative, capitalistic, right, profit driven, and not community driven. So I'm just oh, if I'm competing quote unquote for numbers, then am I truly living the life that I want to live? Right. So in thinking about unlearning worth being connected to outcomes and achievements, particularly how would you define worth now, right? How are you defining worth? How are you redefining it? What would you say in regards to that?
Well, I would define worth in multiple ways. I think for you to have self-worth, obviously, is one of the most, important things. So understanding that, you are powerful, you are meant to be here, you're meant to be, in whatever space that you're in. So understanding that you as a person, are worthy overall, which is actually really funny, or not really funny for that purpose, but worthy because agency or my new role, it's actually a worthy company. And so in our values and our culture is lies the fact that, they believe that each person themselves outside of their role is valuable and, worthy of everything, that's supposed to be given to them. So I definitely think that self-worth is one big thing, but overall, I think your worth is, your output into the world. So the effect that you have on your friends, your family, the people that you work with, the impact that you have, on those people and outside. So first you have to start with that self-worth, obviously, and really have your understanding of your purpose on this earth and why you're here for you first, and then your worth as a person then goes out to the changes that you're making in this world, the people that you're able to impact with you just being here. For me,
That's good. That was good. When I think of worth, I think of value, right? Just in general, like I was thinking of synonyms that come to mind, like worth of value. So like I would define like your worth being like the quality that you have, and thinking of it in that sense can also help to, if you shift away from tying your worth to like how many achievements you have, right? So it's subjective. I feel like that's something that we need to hone on too, is that worth isn't tied to that. Like your worth is subjective. So once you do that, and differentiate there, you can understand that you determine your worth. Like you set the tone for what your worth is. And then just really the fact that we all have such high worth in general. Like there's no one who does, like if you're living and you're breathing, like you have worth, like that's enough, like just having life. So I think looking at it from that perspective would also help to show that grace and getting away from, like seeing like lowering your self-worth or not seeing your value just because of the one aspect that you're looking at it with. Like it's very subjective.
right.
I definitely agree in regards to things being subjective and our need to shift back to centering our humanity. So in thinking about shifting and recentering the human self before the professional self, right? Are there any things that you are learning concerning love and creativity?
Concerning love and creativity, I think I'm learning that for me being a creative, as I grow in my love, I grow in my creativity. Like if I don't have um spaces like my sister circles, my family, my things, being around or like being able to take a step back from like the actual creative and you like the process of creating and, being with my friends and my sisters and, my family, that really opens up the floodgates of love for me. And for me, that also increases my creativity. I can go back and be, rejuvenated. I can go back and be, have all these creative ideas because I've taken a step back and really be and have been with the people that, really ground me, that helped me, versus when I'm by myself and I'm just, in a room working, the creativity is kind of stunted a bit if you're so focused on work. So I think, as my love grows, the different ideas that I have, different things that happen in terms of like creativity, that grows as well. And then I also think in the same vein as like, creativity and love, if I didn't have those people, propping me up and telling me I'm great and, all the different things, if I didn't have that love, like love being the driving force behind me, I wouldn't be as motivated to do half the things that I do, in my creative journey, because I have all these people and this love holding me up. I'm able to be this great creative. I'm able to be this great, strategist in all the things that I am. I'm able to be this great person because I have the love that's holding me up.
Oh, yes. Oh, I was about to give you an amen after that, Kourtney. It was in the spirit. I was like, amen, yes. In line with that though, so that's 100%. Like I agree 100% and feel the same in terms of like the village and having that community. But something to add to that that I've been learning in line with love is the importance of self love in like impacting my creativity. So I've had to learn that my self love is setting boundaries, is not burning out, like letting myself get burnt out because I'm exhausting myself and I'm pushing myself too hard. So I've been really learning how to step back, to give myself that space, to have free time, like that free time is a good thing. And that taking that time to, do things I enjoy, right? To show that self love, like I'll go read a book, just not working my brain 24/7, like out of the day, learning that that's okay and learning that that's important to also prioritize like that self-love in turn impacts my creativity and it motivates me again. So instead of that space where I was in previously where it felt like creativity kind of felt like a chore in a way, like it started to become something that wasn't what I knew it to be, right? Like I've it's always been something that has been a passion for me. It's something I would do. They say find something you do for free, and that's like your passion. Like you'd be okay. That's what it was for me. But it had become from me doing it like too much, exhausting myself, not focusing on that self-love and prioritizing it had then become something that like I dreaded, something that, was causing stress to me, like not being able to perform at my best. So being able to also focus in on that and prioritizing my self-love has also helped me find my passion back in my creativity and learning as well.
Yeah, I brought up a lot of meaningful touch points, right? So Coco, and thinking about the importance of family and community so that you can pour into your cup, right? And Renee, and thinking about the aspect of rest, like normalizing rest and normalizing leisure as women. A lot of women, I'm forgetting the concept right now, but a lot of women have role overload. Like we have so many roles that take priority, right? So in the beginning, Renee, you referencing like balancing these roles and learning like, I don't have to balance all of these roles, right? Sometimes this has to be prioritized over others. Like Coco said, you said in this season of your life, you're prioritizing your family because that's what's necessary, that's what's needed, right? So in thinking about the ways in which y'all are learning to love yourselves so that the creativity flows, what are some of the side effects or the consequences, outcomes, whichever words that you prefer, in thinking about the benefits to your entrepreneurship, right? Because Renee, you're a graphic designer, Coco, you're a content creator, documentarian, you're both event planners, right? Which is a lot of creativity, a lot of time, right? So how does that then impact your entrepreneurial outcomes when you do practice self-love, when you do practice, family love? How does that impact y'all on the entrepreneurial side?
I think for me, I'm able to be a whole lot more creative. Like the ideas come very easily, they flow easily. I'm able to think of, oh, that's a great idea. If you're not so focused on, the one thing, I think if I'm so focused on the one thing, it can kind of become, mundane. And then if you, share with family and friends, I know for me, anytime I share an event or something that I'm working on, my family is the first people to be like, oh, well, I think you should do this. I think you should add to that and do, this. And so I think that also goes back to the whole collaboration piece. You don't have to just collaborate with people that are in the field with you. You can also collaborate with other people because, other people are consumers of the content you're creating. They're, attendees of the events that you're going to. Other people, have ideas. And so I think that's a really great, for me, it impacts my creativity because I'm able to come up with, more ideas because of that, collaboration aspect. And then touching on the fact of, being self-worth and the whole, transformation of it all. because I'm able to take a step back and, be with family, and I'm not so focused on one thing. I can come up with more ideas, and I'm more creative. And for myself, that rest and rejuvenation, that self-love that you're practicing, that allows you to like deplug, and you can come back to the work with, fresh eyes and things of that nature. So you're able to give better ideas, and it's just able to flow a little bit better.
Yes. And in that, so my previous answer kind of touched on the impact was that I was then able to find that passion again. Like I was able to then it's something that, hey, even if I'm not getting paid to do this, it's something I enjoy. Like this is something that brings me happiness to do. So being able to prioritize that self-care and take that step back and learn how to rest. And I can't do everything, that has actually like helped to where I now have that passion and drive again in general. I also, in stepping back, another reason, as like I mentioned, I have my 3-year-old daughter. Another thing that was being impacted was my time with her. So I also had to prioritize, my self-care and self-love was also because I prioritized my daughter first, right? So I also had to learn, hey, if something has to wait, it's not going to be her. Like I wanted to make sure that I was taking that time to dedicate to her. So in me learning how to do that as well and to balance, that has also just helped my quality of life in general. Which I think in general impacts, like I'm able to do all things that I participate in better because my headspace is better, because I'm not going into it feeling like I'm not doing something, I'm missing out, on the things that I value. So just making sure that I was taking the time to focus on things that I value and putting those first, then everything else, lines in. It also helped me realize, okay, so the building wasn't burning anyway. Like it was okay. Like I helped me realize that, okay, like I was going, in my head, I'm like, oh, I gotta do, like this is pressing. This is like everything. As soon as something comes up, I'm like, I have to do it right now. I learned, okay, hey, I prioritized what valued, and it was still there. It was still fine, and it still got done. Like everything could still get done. So I really like, it was a lot of different things that has come about, like learning that.
Yeah, I think that shift happens for a lot of people, because I also was in that space of like, I got to do this, I got to be here to do this. But now that, it's a different space, it's completely like, okay, I can survive.
Yeah.
Everything will be fine. And I think because for us, specifically all of us on this call, we work so hard at the things that, we really want and that, we're really passionate about, that sometimes we forget that we can take that step back because we're so enthralled or, wrapped up with what we're doing, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as whatever the case, maybe we're so wrapped up in that, in the many roles as Black women, you have to be there. We have to be there to, but that self-love goes back to, understanding that you can take that break. You can take that, that setback. So I'm appreciative of that lesson in this season.
Look, the new theme is we're not surviving, we're thriving. Right. So we're trying to get out of surviving because I'm trying to be thriving.
Yeah, I'm trying to thrive right now so I can survive later, baby. Because if I'm just trying to work to death to survive now, who knows if there'll be a later. And I'm kiki right now, but I'm so serious. Like I'm so serious. Like, and I'm appreciative, of the people, of the sisters that we have that remind us that we need this rest because we want us to be here, for later on. Because when this work is long gone, I really just want to be sitting in the backyard kiki with our drinks, and we can't do that if we're, in some other space because we done worked ourselves to death.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I'm happy to hear that y'all getting it at a younger age, to be honest. I can say as a millennial, I can recognize the shift in my generation in regards to working ourselves to death because I have like witnessed women who have like worked themselves to chronic medical conditions because they prioritize work so much instead of, getting their annual checkup. So if something is bothering them, oh, I got to go ahead and I got to make this meeting, I got to do this overtime, etc. To point of, oh, okay, so now you need surgery because that little thing is now a major thing because you didn't check up on it, right? But who's taking care of you? Your family, not necessarily your job. And how long is family medical leave? Okay, cool. Is that long enough? It's not. Right. So like all of the domino effect, because previous generations, oftentimes they didn't prioritize their health, but then also some of them didn't have the luxury to prioritize their health because we know in regards to the economy, the multiple roles that they had to, a lot of Black women in older generation would say, like, I didn't have time to cry. I didn't have time to sit down. I had this house to keep up. I had this career to do. I had to make sure that my kids were okay. Once, they graduate from high school, what's next for them? Like all of those things consume their time. So I'm glad that y'all are getting it now. Because for me, in thinking about managing expectations and tasks, I ask myself, like, is this timely? Is it urgent? Okay, not okay, cool. It can wait.
Mm-hmm.
It can wait. Like, can I ask for an extension? Okay, cool. Right? Like, I'm not a medical doctor, so like you said, the house is not burning. Okay. And if it was, I'm not a firefighter. Okay. Somebody else wants to do it. So, and thinking about like, how do we reprioritize things and tasks so that we live well, right? Like, I don't just want to survive. I want to live well. I want to transition well, to be quite frank. Like, I want my legacy to be a legacy of wellness that I centered, right? So, in thinking about the lessons that y'all are learning now about centering wellness, centering self, centering your intimate spaces, what advice would you offer your younger sisters or your daughter, Renee? Like, what advice would you offer them considering wellness, considering creativity? Like, what would you say to them?
I know for me, and my little sister, I tell her this all the time, is to like, as best as you can, eliminate all the stressors that you have. Like I try to tell her now, my little sister actually just had a baby. And so something that's happening is my sister has always been the one that's been baby. She's always been the one, love her down. She gets whatever she wants, right? And so, but what's happening with the fact that she's had a baby, it's everyone is like, oh, it's not you anymore. It's going to be about your baby. And me personally, I'm shutting that down because I feel like that's also something that's starting young. Like you're telling her now at the age that she is at 19 years old that you don't matter right now. It's all about your baby. What? She has her whole life in front of her, for wellness and all the things. And I think if you start planting that ideology now that, it's not about you, it's all about your baby, that's how you get to the space of, forgetting about self and just taking care of your baby. Obviously, you take care of your child, you make sure everything is good. But you as a mother, if you're not okay, then you can't take care of your baby. You can't take care of, all the things. So I think for me, I definitely tell my sister all the time, ask for help when you need it. Ask for help when you need it. And then, even if you can't ask for help, we're going to be there, as our family to lift you up when you can't ask for it. Definitely prioritize, your wellness, making sure you're good. Definitely don't sit back and, continue to work or ignore certain things like medical problems that, help. Like starting those things early can, help you thrive in the future. Instead of, like you said, being even my age or a millennial age or whatever the case may be, and realizing that then, like now you have the whole world, to shape basically where you are now, to shape. So definitely prioritize you. And in prioritizing you, you can knock out all the other, BS that gets in your mind and you have to unlearn when you get to my age or a millennial age. Yeah.
I would say, I'm thinking that
That she's right there.
It's like on cue.
On cue. I was
her little face coming from behind the thing is to be.
I love it. She got something to say. She got advice to give us, okay?
Say you were giving me advice.
My advice that I would say, my advice that I would give actually is really to find the communities, like to find your sisterhood, to find like mentorship. That was my communities have been so transformative for me, like in terms of everything, professional and personal growth. So I've had so many times where I felt, down, like I felt like, again, like I was tying my worth to things that I shouldn't have, felt like I wasn't doing enough, felt like I didn't know enough. Like there was so many things where I'm questioning me, like questioning myself. And it was my community, it was my mentorship. That was what got me through, like having those conversations with those individuals, them pouring back into me, them uplifting me. Those were the things that helped me continue on and helped me to get to where I am now, learning, unlearning all of these things that we've gone through over the time. It has been the mentorship and the community. So I would for sure, that'd be advice that I'd say starting off young. It can be so much scarier trying to figure it out on your own. It's like you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what questions to ask. Like you don't, so it's a lot harder to just try to learn that from scratch, even if it's just, if you are in academia, like even if it's in the classroom, like it's still beyond the classroom. There's more to learn. There's more to know. There's so many different things that people who are already in these spaces, people who have been where you are, people who can like help you and tell you you're not crazy and that you're doing great, you're doing a good job, having those individuals by far, like 10 times, like I would say get that early, like go ahead and seek that out early on, and it would help hopefully not going through as many of the pitfalls that we can go into when we don't know those things, like or don't know the questions to ask. It can help that significantly. So that'd be advice that I would give.
Right. I just want to throw in that Renee is absolutely awesome at everything she does, and so that really helps. And for me, that has been a great part of my community because I think I'm great, but Renee is like a different type. Definitely.
Don't make me cry on this call now. Don't make me cry.
All the time. All the time. Like she says she questions herself a lot, and she does, and it's crazy because you are literally like people wish they could be what you are as a person, as a mother, as a human. Just overall, people wish they could be what you are.
Agreed. Agreed. I think that for me, like being in a position of being intentional about like being a big sis and a little sis, right? So I'm in this in-between space where I'm in community with women across different generations, which is really beneficial for me because I found that intergenerationally, we haven't had a lot of conversations that I think we should have had, and it's to normalize it. So whether or not just like a conversation about like, what does it mean to age? Like, what does it mean to practice like role balance or role harmony? What does it mean to be financially well? Like all of those conversations that I wish I would have had younger with more people. I'm trying to be intentional. Well, I am being intentional about having those conversations now. And in having those conversations, also realizing that I am in this in-between space, right? As someone who considers themselves to be a little sister, a big sister, an auntie. Like those are the roles in which I cherish, in which I prioritize, right? And being a daughter. So in thinking about those roles, I often ask myself, like, what are these communities? What are these sister circles? What are these one-on-one relationship teaching me about myself? And also, like, what am I learning from those sisters? So in thinking about, for example, the community that we have amongst us, right? And looking at Renee and looking at Coco, I'm like, dang, they really know what it means to be a sister at a young age, which I found to be admirable because for me, like in my undergrad and my master's career, like I definitely didn't like develop those relationships at that stage in life, which I wish I would have been more intentional about developing and or maintaining those relationships at that stage of life, right? Because I can look at Renee and say, oh, dang, like she got this. Like my sis knows how to do a logo. My sis knows how to be here and present, like check off all the boxes, right? And my sis also knows how to say, y'all, I'm frustrated, right? And I think us uplifting our mental health and saying like, today I'm not okay, y'all. And that person didn't piss me off, right? And like Coco coming to me and be like, now Dr. Cupid, what happened? Tell me, because I saw your facial expression, right? And that's like having those one-on-one relationships to be like, look, Coco, this what happened, okay? We're going to keep this between you and I, right? And Coco just being ever present and showing up. That's what I learned about. That's what I have learned and what I'm continuing to learn from y'all is the importance of at a young age developing those intimate relationships with sisters because it carries you through. It really does. So not just our biological sisters, right? But our sisters by choice. It really carries you through and helps you to live life better and to be more whole, right? So in thinking about the conversations, that y'all are having now, are there any conversations that y'all think y'all should be having with your moms and your aunties concerning love, concerning creativity that y'all are not having? Like what conversations are being missed?
I think for me, my family is actually very open, like more than most families would be. Like my mama has always been if you need to say something, go ahead and say it. Like as long as it's not, disrespectful or anything, obviously. But like if you're feeling some type of way, especially when it comes to love and different things, my mom has always allowed me to express myself. Like she's always allowed me to say, what I had to say. So when it comes to, romantic love or whatever the case may be, I am very open with my mama. I know some people like, hold stuff back, but like if I am in a relationship or a situation or whatever the case may be, I'm very open to talk to my mom about, certain things, especially if something is not right or, weird. But I think even for my mom and the age that she is in, she also listens to me, like, and she allows me to give, my opinion. Sometimes older women are just like, this is what it is. There's no like if, ands, or buts, or they've been doing something for so long that it's just what it is, and they don't allow you to kind of to have that conversation. My mom is kind of different, and I'll say my grandmother is different in that aspect too. I know she comes from a generation where you're not able to say exactly, what it is, or some things you keep at home. And I think, our younger generation, we're way more open. We're way more like, let's confront whatever, it is. And I'm like that with my grandmother. You can tell she comes from that, generation where you kind of keep things under the hood. You don't really talk about a lot of things. But when I go to my grandma, I'm like, Grandma, let me know what it is. Like, I need to know the exact, and it's especially now that, I'm older, I'm younger, obviously, but still older. She allows me to push back on some of the things that she says. Like she talks about, like an example would be, older people, they're not necessarily, and I have great aunties, like, my grandma is the oldest of 5 sisters. So I have these conversations with all of them, and they're all, obviously older, but I am the one in my younger generation to be like, TT, I can't believe you let that happen. Or how did that happen? Like, I'm the one, I'm the one to be like, to question, these things and be open and kind of have these, conversations. I can bring up another example of like, one of my cousins being LGBTQ, and, the older generation of my aunties not really understanding, why he would dress a certain way or why they would do, certain things. And I'm the one to be like, okay, well, you have to think about your way of thinking. Do you really love him if you're sitting over here placing, boundaries and whatnot on him? Like, let's have these conversations and understand. So because my family has always been open, I think that allows me to really voice how I feel about certain things, whether if it comes to love or, whatever the case may be. I am very vocal, and I do thank my family for that. Sometimes it might get on their nerves just a bit, but y'all raised me like this. So
hearing you say that, actually makes me So initially, I didn't feel like there wasn't any conversations in particular. Like, I felt like I couldn't have the conversation like with my aunts, my mom. But hearing you say that, maybe like it made me rethink because we're not as like we just don't talk as much in line with like those type of conversations. So we do have that, love. Like love my aunts, love my mom and my grandmother. But I feel that maybe in terms of like love, that we could absolutely just have more of the conversations in general. Just speaking on me, and my personal relationships, like in general, we don't really like as as the older women in my life like that, who I could go to, who would have this experience and more knowledge on love and what it is, and like they probably have some very valuable things that they could share with me. I know I could for sure start the conversation. Like I could start it. I know we have that repertoire to where I could. So anything that just meant like I'm glad you went first because it made me realize, I thought we were okay, but I think I would like to go back and, like delve a little bit deeper into the conversations with them to learn more about like how what their takes on love are, like how they think it should be shown, like what are their love affirmations. Like I would like to know that just as the women who I look up to like in my life.
I like to be in their business, so that's why I need to know what's going on. How did you meet my papa? How did you meet this other man, like my uncle dad? Like, how did you meet him? Like, how did I be? And she be acting like, really. But girl, tell me the truth. Like, wait, you don't have to, you don't have to play. And my mama all the time has told me about, her relationships throughout school, like how she kind of got to, she's been with my dad now, or married to my dad now for 18 years. And they've been together about to go, on 20 years. And so that for me, we were literally just had this conversation yesterday about the fact that, they're about to make 18 years. And she was saying, or, 20 years or however many years. And she was saying, I never thought when I was younger, I could be with a person for that long. And so that, I always say now personally, like, how could you be with somebody for that long? And being obviously a part of my parents' relationship and just growing up and whatnot, I've seen them grow, throughout all of these stages, that they've been in. And of course, I think that informs my version of love, or like, romantic love, or what that looks like, because my dad is a great man, because my mom is a great woman. I think that those things really inform, my versions of love. And I think because my family has always been so open, my mom literally just said yesterday that we share everything, which we do. We share everything. Like, we're really open with each other. Like, as a family, there's kind of nothing, to hide. So I can appreciate that, about my mother instilling that in me. And that kind of just pushing toward my grandmother and my great grandmother and, my great aunties and all the things.
Yeah, see, exactly. There's so much that like we don't have those, like that's what I want to be in the business. I want to know like the backstory. I want to know where your mindset was before and how it's developed as y'all continue. Because of course all of them are married. All of them are married and have been married, 10 years. But of course, like there's more there. Those are conversations. I think like personally, those are conversations that I would like to have that I am not having.
Yeah. Because I think just for as people, and I do think about it like later on down the line, I would want to have stories to tell my kids, or like to tell my, like, if for some reason they don't meet, my great grandmother, or they don't meet whoever the people may be, I want to be able to have, enough details to tell them about their lives in color, like that's something that's really big for me, especially when my great grandmother passed away. Obviously I asked her questions and whatnot, but I feel like I could have learned more just in general, about her. And, I think that translated in, that also goes back to the whole sense of, intentionality and what we're doing with our lives and things of that nature. I think that initial moment that happened for me was really a wake-up call. So yes, I was always in a business before, but now after that, I really understand like the value and like how precious it is for them to be here now and tell their own story. Shout out to Dr. Winfield. So I absolutely like to be in their business, like not only just to be in their business, but definitely so I can have, you know, that understanding for myself and like provide a colored version of what, you know, my grandmother would be, or, you know, what if for some reason they're not able to meet her or be with her, or, you know, anyone really, you know, my great aunties and things of that nature.
I think that's all beautiful. And in thinking about as we mature in our womanhood, I also appreciate the conversations that I had with my mother about her before she was a mother, right? And these roles outside of her being a mother, because I think oftentimes we're learned to only look at our parents as parents.
Yeah.
But they're whole humans. Like they have so many other facets of their experience, which inform the ways in which they parent. Like, what did it mean for you to grow up, and how you raising your kids differently, for example? Like, what did it mean for you to fall in love the first time, and who's your forever love, right? Like all of those questions,
Exactly.
which inform the ways in which they love us as mothers. But we oftentimes we don't take those time to have those conversations. So I definitely agree about being intentional about sitting down with the women in your family. And like you said, shout out to Dr. Asher Winfield. It's not only ask those questions, but to document it. Like, what would it mean for you to have a diary, like with your great grandmother or your mom, Renee? So that way you can pass that on to the next generation, so they can have it, even if they're still living, it becomes that family archive, right? So in thinking about love, I'm going to ask this question to everyone. How do you know if someone loves you?
That's good.
I feel loved by someone if they're consistently like showing support, you know, however it appears, you know, different people can support you in different ways, right? Depending on the relationship. But showing support, showing care for me, just respecting who I am and like what my values are, like showing like I feel like I'm being heard, I'm being seen. Those are things that that'll make me feel loved by someone else.
I can agree. I think love, or I feel loved by people when they are considering me in their choices, in the ways that they deal with me, in the ways that, you know, they choose to support me. I feel love when I get hugs and things of the nature. I am very affectionate, I guess. And another thing that comes from my mama, she will kiss us down in the face. Like she's a very like openly show, you know, love type of person. And my dad is just like that too. And my grandma, everybody really, they're really just, you know, and so my family shows love in general by being really affectionate with each other. And I know that's something different than a lot of families. I've had people that have said like, y'all do that. Like, yes, my mama kissed me. I don't know what to tell you. But I definitely feel love in consideration. I think that's the biggest thing in all of your choices that you make with me, and just being considerate and that offering grace and things of that nature.
Thank you. Connecting to that, considering your primary roles, what is a reminder to circle back to yourself to feel grounded?
I feel like I've said this.
Oh, great.
I'm sorry. I just said I feel like I've said this a lot, but my mother will call me every day and say, "Did you eat today? Did you?" Because she knows I will work, and I will just get in my little silo of work. And now it's 12 o'clock at night, and I haven't eaten anything. So like, my reminder is always, and I have really great friends as well. I will say to say, and my grandmother. I'll go ahead and throw my grandmother in there as well. If it's not my mama calling, it's gonna be my grandma saying, "Did you eat? Did you go take a walk? Like, did you go touch grass today?" And I think for me, that matter. They definitely remind me to like center myself, Dr. Ashley Winfield as well. She will definitely be one of the ones to call and say, did you leave out the house today or did you do something? Because they know I can get so caught up. So I think having that consideration for me just to, give me a call and say, did I eat? I think that's one of the purest forms of love, just making sure that, I'm nourished outside of, the affection and all the things, like just making sure that I'm taken care of because that, how wrapped up in work that I can get.
Yeah, and I'm in terms of being grounded, like just in my day to day, I pray throughout the day, like for mental clarity, like just to take a step back and to be able to live in the moment, to not so much worry about the future. Like today has its own worries. Like there's enough worry just for today. And just also like listening to positive music, listening to uplifting music that reminds me, I'm more than just the things that I do. I'm more than the roles I house. Like, okay, I'm more than just a daughter. I'm more than just a mom. I'm more than, like an employee. Like there's more to that. So having those like as constant reminders just throughout the day help me to just try to. I don't want to portray like I just got it all together. Like I said, it's a work in progress. So it sounds all nice. That's what I'm doing to get there. We're working at that. But those are things that I do have to come back to because it can easily, like we've said, it can be a lot. It can become a lot. It's very easy to do that. I think as Black women, like we just gotta be super women. We gotta we gotta be strong. We can't show any weakness. So I'm trying to get out of that. Those are the things that I just do. Like I have to do it throughout the day, just on a regular day to day, because it's so easy to lose sight.
Yeah.
So in thinking about unlearning us as Black women, being superwoman and doing all of the things, for both of y'all, when do you feel as though you're loving yourself the most? Like, what does that feel like? What does that sound like? What does that taste like, right? So you can take us through the senses if that helps, right? What does it feel like when you are practicing love to yourself?
I think for me, love definitely looks like a great filet mignon, mashed potatoes, and a Caesar salad. But no, seriously, I always reward myself. Like I feel like I've had a hard week or a hard whatever the case may be, and I've been cooking or I've been eating fast food or whatever the case may be. I love to take myself out to a nice restaurant to just sit and really just wine and dine myself. Because I deserve, and I think, sometimes people reserve that for like romantic love but I always go to restaurants by myself, and I think for me, that is one of the biggest forms of self-care, because I love a filet and I love a Caesar salad and I think it deserves to be, in nice settings. And then outside of that, just regular when I'm at home, I love the end of a day. I love being able to just take a bath, a warm bath, like a bubble bath. And like, I just think taking care of yourself, especially if you're moving so fast throughout the week, you can just take showers. So on the weekend, you can sit and relax in the tub. I love to watch me a good show, read me a good book, in the bath. And then just at the end of every day, my favorite part of self-love is always just curling up with a snack, rubbing my toes together with a good snack and a good show. Mwah, mwah. The self-love there. I love it. I love it.
Oh, yes. The filet. Oh, I miss the red meat. I'm in moderation, bro. But for me, so loving myself, I mean, when I just feel the most like, oh, I am loving me right now, is when just in general, I'm prioritizing like my physical, my spiritual, and my mental, like just all like my well-being in general. So spiritual, that looks like, okay, am I reading the word at least once a day? Am I praying like on a regular, feeling at one and like in tune with my spirit? But then mentally being sure that I'm taking a step back. making sure that I'm not just working all day, but that I have times where I'm literally just existing. That's been like my favorite. That's like my favorite, like my phrase I've been saying, like, I just want to exist. I want to close all the tabs in my brain and just exist. And that, like, as of late 2024, as of late, that has been something I've been being sure to do every day. And it just has completely, I just didn't realize how much I was stressing myself out before by not like having that just mental break, like that mental rest where my brain isn't thinking of 20 things at a time. And then physically, I have to get in the gym. I have to get in somebody's gym, preferably 5 days a week, but 3 minimum if I can. It just it is physical, but it translates into the mental. It translates into the spiritual. I have a praise break during the gym session often. It's something I do often because I'm listening to my gospel music and I'm in there grinding it out. So I'm getting the physical well-being, but also mentally it gives me that space to, relax and not have anything else that I'm thinking of. But then spiritually, like I'm sometimes I feel more in tune, like with my spirit when I'm like my headphones tuned in, like praising. So just in general, those are just things that as long as I'm hitting all the points spiritually, mentally, physically, like I'm hitting all of that, that is when I'm like at my best self. My best self. I love it.
I love both of those images. Coco, we have been out to eat many a times, and
yeah,
ooh, I was just had her order. Okay, you better get it right. Okay, she don't want that. Nope, salad dressing on the side. Okay.
No, yep.
So you definitely have taught me that, like the need and the necessity to routinely reward yourself just because you made it through the week, right? Not because you got this accolade, like y'all said, or meet this benchmark. We made it through a week, and that is celebratory enough. So I definitely have observed and admired that about you, Coco. And also in thinking about Renee, this is where you show up in your present is admirable to me because I know that after, for example, I had my nephew for 2 days. Baby, I'm spent, okay? I am spent, okay? Send him back to his parents. It's been real. I love you, right? So
return to sender.
hey, listen, okay? So the ways in which you show up in your present has always been admirable to me, considering all of the roles that you have. So in thinking about the ways in which y'all are intentional about loving yourselves, loving your community, I really appreciate this conversation. Definitely have to listen back to take notes for myself, right? So I'm thinking about the ways in which my little sis are offering me things and teaching me things. So be mindful to listen back to the conversation. And also in thinking about listening back to the conversation, are y'all working on any projects or services that you would like to share? Like, where can folks find y'all? Since y'all are entrepreneurs, y'all have creative skills and expertise. Are there any services that y'all would like to share out?
I'll go quick since mine's short. I'm not currently taking on any clients at the moment, but you can absolutely keep up with me on Instagram at _ it's Nay with 3 E's. So it's _ITSNAEEE.
And for me, I am also in the space of not necessarily taking on clients right now. However, if you feel that is a big passion project and something you really believe in and it has impact, I may take a look at it. I may take a look at it. But like Renee said, just keep up with me on Instagram. I might always say, I'm looking for a client or whatever the case may be. So definitely just tap me at all times. So my email is Kourtney Janeau PR at gmail.com. And that's Kourtney Janeau, JANEAU PR at gmail.com. And then my Instagram is at Kourtney Marie, KOURTNEY YY. So it's 3 Y's and Marie. So yeah, definitely keep up with me there and just share your things with me, right? And we can
Thank you. So before we close out, just want to uplift. Is there anything else like y'all like to share that y'all didn't offer into the space? So again, any final words or reflection considering the conversation on love?
I mean, not other than really just taking the time to say thank you again, like for this space, like just being so grateful for being here, for the conversation, for the sisterhood. It still even came through, even though, like it came through even here. Like it is just so important, and I just hope that that translates through to the listeners and to the viewers of the podcast. Like that, if you don't have that, please seek that out, please, because it's transformative, is vital to the well-being, like truly.
Yeah, and I think for me, just seconding that notion, thank you so much for creating this space and really allowing us to share our thoughts and show up as we are, not necessarily something that's performative. And that just made it all the better that you know us and we are already
Yes.
sisters. All the better. So I just thank you so much. And I really want the listeners to get the fact that you can change. Like you don't have to necessarily be in this one space, or if you feel like you're not in a space of self-love or self-worth or whatever the case may be, you can always get there. This, what you're going through now, would not always be, the ending. So keep that in mind. Like always give yourself grace throughout all of the seasons in your life.
Amen.
Beautiful. I appreciate y'all. So again, thank you, Kourtney Janeau and Renee Lucas, for taking the time out to share in regards to your experiences concerning love, creativity, entrepreneurship. So again, sisters, supporters, sponsors, you're listening to the So again, sisters, supporters, sponsors, you're listening to the Lirae Journey podcast. So as always, Lirae means love is real and eternal. So sis, let's practice love.
Practicing love.
Yes.
Hey sis, subscribe, comment, and leave a 5-star review if you enjoy the show. To encourage other sisters on their journey, share the show with them and tag @Lirae Journey on Facebook and Instagram. I'll see you in the chats. Listen to the Lirae Journey podcast on all platforms and follow us on social media @Lirae Journey. You can also find us online at podcast.mckissickhealth.com. That's podcast.mckissickhealth.com. So come on in.